Good afternoon and welcome. Today we remember Sister Rita Moriarty. I'm Joan Filla, a friend of Rita's since we were missioned together in Champaign, Illinois in 1968. Our prayer today represents Rita's wishes. She planned this service with the same readings that she had for her final vow ceremony. Sister Nancy, Corcoran, and I are honored that Rita asked us to be a part of the process in this prayer. And Rita has specific directions. She wanted you to know that welcome has two words in it, we and come. We come together to be well. Our we-ness brings us wellness. Terry Moriarty, one of Rita's sisters, will lead us in the prayer.
Lord God, creator of the universe, thanks for walking with us each day. Your awesomeness is intertwined with your venerable presence. We embrace your unknowability and revelation. We trust your unfathomable love for each and all of us.
Sandra Straub, a sister of St. Joseph, invites us to sing with her this beautiful hymn.
Oh Lord, my God, when I in awesome wonder consider all the worlds thy hands have made, I see the stars, I hear the rolling thunder, the power throughout the universe displayed. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art.
Rita and Eleanor lived together for 42 years. Today, Sister Eleanor O'Hearn reads from St. Paul.
A reading from the Ephesians, chapter 3, verses 14 to 21. This is what I pray, kneeling before the Father, from whom every family takes its name. I pray that God will give you every gift you need. May you be strengthened inwardly through the working of the Spirit. May Christ dwell in your heart, so you will be able to grasp the breadth and length and height and depth of Christ's love. God's power working in us can do more than we can ask or imagine. To God be the glory.
Rita was born on January 23rd. So 23 was her lucky number, and today is the 23rd. Sister Fran Mayer, a member of our leadership team, will lead us in praying Rita's favorite psalm. Of course, it's Psalm 23.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want.
God is my shepherd, there is nothing I shall want. In green pastures, God gives me rest. Besides restful waters, God leads me to revive my drooping spirit.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want.
Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil. For you are with me, your rod and your staff comfort me.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want.
You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want.
Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me, and I shall dwell in the house of God forever.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Karen Sweeney Malone is one of Nancy's nieces. Karen proclaims the gospel that was read at Rita's final vow ceremony.
The Gospel according to John. Unless a grain of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains just a grain of wheat. But if it dies, it produces much fruit. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God. Unmute.
Karen is really Rita's niece, not mine.
Oh,
Enjoy Rita's pictures that Terry sent to us. And then at the end of the pictures, we'll share our memories.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay, now we will have our memory sharing. Again, if you would like to share a memory, please type your name in the chat box. We will call on your name as it appears, and or raise your hand, and we'll try to get to everyone as much as we can. Sister Fran, if you want to unmute yourself.
My life and Rita's have intersected since I lived in Denver in the 1980s. So some of my memories for those 10 years were how wonderful Rita was and how gracious St. Francis de Sales was. It was like the province house of the West because they greeted and housed everyone. They hosted our community meetings. They gathered us for holidays and community meetings. And they were just sort of this center that we always went to, and we knew they were always there. Then after that, I left Denver, but I came back almost every year for my first set of years away. And always it included some time with Rita and Eleanor. We might go to the mountains, we might have a meal, we might share a movie, but it was always something fun. Then a few years later than that, Rita and I served on the province council together. And we loved her wisdom, we loved her funny stories, and we loved her different perspective. Then more recently, I feel like I was a companion on her journey for these last couple of years. And primarily that was through cards and through prayers. But I would also add, just because I think this is funny, her best friend was supposed to do the reading I did, but she died before Rita did. So I was the substitute reader of the psalm, which I was certainly happy to do. If I had to describe Rita with a scripture passage, it would be this one: choose life. Rita certainly did choose life and lived it to the full.
Next, we have Terry Moriarty.
Now I'll cry, and I start all my sentences with that lately. What I found interesting with Rita and her vocation was years ago, she told me one of the happiest days of her life was when she was able to make her first communion, because then she was able to walk with Mary Cummings and Barry to Mass every morning to receive communion.
Oh,
And I thought, her love of Jesus and was from the time she was so young. And so, she's with him now. So her joy is just unbelievable.
Thank you. Next, we have Connie.
I lived with Rita way back with Eleanor, and Father David was there way back in the 80s, I think. And Rita challenged me in several ways, and that still helps me today. And I just want to thank her for that and offer my sympathy to the family.
thank you, Connie.
Karen Malone.
Mary Carroll? No.
I just wanted to share with all of you, with Rita's sisters. We did a confirmation interview, or a vocation interview years ago, but I just wanted to share with you what she told me about her vocation, which was, I was at home with this choice and have loved being part of a good group of women seeking the Lord and serving the dear neighbor. So I just wanted to share that with all of you because she loved all of you so much.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you. Anyone else? Type your name in the chat box or raise your hand. Kay Moriarty.
I was her favorite sister-in-law. But she made everybody feel like they're the most important person.
Yes.
No, what, excuse me. No matter where you were, she was always full of laughter and love. And she loved to come to Grand Beach, and we loved having her because we always knew there was going to be a lot of laughter and cards and a few glasses of wine also. She got me traveling a lot, which I always appreciate. And she will be missed.
Yes.
Thank you. Next, we have Sister Marion Weinzippel.
Rita always went the extra mile to bring joy to people. I lived with Rita in Waco, Texas for I think about a year, and then for several years at St. Francis de Sales. And you know, sisters would come out to St. Francis to go to retreat at Sedalia or other places, but they would always spend a couple of days with us coming and going. And often people left a little stipend. Well, Rita would gather up this money and then she would plan a trip for us in the fall. And we went, you know, we would go up to a really special place for dinner, and Rita would call it in so that we were there for their early bird serving time so we could get anything on the menu that anybody wanted. And then I also remember we went to Steamboat Springs and spent a couple of days, and we went to Breckenridge. And Rita did, you know, was extending her joy not only to those of us who lived there, but people in the parish. She would go off and I don't know how she rigged it up, but there would be breakfasts in the mountains. And I don't know whether it was 1 carload, 2 carloads, but it was like, well, Rita's going today. And just the joy. She just consistently brought joy into people's lives and helped us to expand to horizons that we didn't necessarily think we could do or for whatever reason. So Rita, thank you for that.
Thank you, Marion.
Next, we have Sister, Sally Harper.
Yeah. I had the joy of working with Rita 2 summers at St. Joseph's Child Care Center in Chicago, for which we were junior sisters, and we did service in the summer, and we didn't know what we were doing. But Sister Anna Rita, who was the director at the time, was great with us. And Rita, whatever went wrong, we could figure it out and laugh about it. And then I can never think of Rita without thinking of Grand Beach, because we would go up to her family home and do retreats or just hang out. And it was just a delight to be with her. And so I just have very, very happy memories of her. Thank you, Rita.
Yes, and thank you, Sally.
Next, we have Sister Nancy Corcoran.
When Rita decided not to go on with medications that were experimental, Joan and I approached her and said, would you like to plan your memorial service? And we set up 3 dates. And a few days later, we got online everything you're experiencing today, literally everything. And it was just so much fun, because the sad part was we didn't meet the 3 times that we were going to. We met in other ways. But I just thought Rita knew how she wanted to be with y'all. So enjoy it.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Mary Ellen.
Yes, Rita was here at Heather Gardens with us, and she and Eleanor have always been, you know, the epitome of receiving and helping and being willing to be the people who called together a meeting or a dinner. And we just loved her, and everybody in Heather Gardens loved her too. And I'm just so happy because I just feel she was a great grace in my life. And Diane, who is not here today, but she would say the same thing. And she just filled us with so much life, and we're just really, really grateful. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Thank you, Mary Ellen.
You're welcome.
Rosario? Can you move your camera? There you go.
Yes, okay. I live with Rita and for many years, and I have a lot of stories. She received me when I was transferring from Dallas to Denver. She received me at the airport, and she explained me everything about the Sisters of St. Joseph and the travel, probably 20 minutes, okay? And she told me who was leaving, and Rita and 3 others trained me as a Sister of St. Joseph. Hey, she said, Rosario. I remember her, she always called me Rosario, and I said, yes, Rita, and then yes, Ritz, and then we have a lot of beautiful stories. And one day she said, Rosario, I suppose you to talk with you about the complementary documents. And what about if we go to the MCY and have a swim and we can talk about it? And I said, excellent, Rita. We have stories like that. One day I was lost, totally lost, because I don't have GPS on my mind and my brain. But she had a very good sense of directions. And I said, Rita, I'm lost. And she said, Rosario, it was summertime. Can you see the sun? And of course, it was a big, big sun in Denver. I said, yes, Rita, I can see that. And she said, follow the sun. And Rita, it was a light in my life, light coming from Jesus. And she was a friend of friends and friends and friends. And always I was asking Rita, when she came back from traveling, and I said, Rita, how many friends did you make during your trip? Ha, ha, ha. And she always was laughing. And really, I miss her. Thank you, Rita.
Yes. And thank you, Rosario.
Kieran?
Rita and I met first in 1993. And that was the year that the CSJ congregation shifted from Mother Superior of the whole congregation, to a team. And for the first, only, and last time, we had 18 people that left their names in. And somehow Rita and I ended up moving into the 12 from the 18. And since then, it's been just a marvelous long-term, long-distance relationship. We've only gotten together maybe 5 or 6 times since 1993, but Rita was everything that everyone has just said. But I think a key thing for me is the we and come is our wellness. And thank you for including me.
Thank you, Karen.
Sister Eleanor? So you just had it. Try it again. You just had it. There you go. You're in.
Okay. I have many, many stories about Rita, but I'm just going to identify a few. And one was with the death of Mary Cummings. Her first comment was, well, she and Mary Cummings were in kindergarten together. So they've been friends for many, many years. And she said, that Mary Cummings, she butted me out of heaven. That was her first remark.
Oh.
And then from St. Francis de Sales, and this is in relation to all of the trips they took to the mountains, to wherever, to eat out and everything. Gene Stanky was a good friend of hers, and he called her the cruise director. And that's what she was known at St. Francis. And then the video person that she spoke with, who's going to video our service at St. Francis, she was talking with him, and he said, well, what date is the funeral? And she said, well, I'm not dead yet. And he just didn't know what to do with that. And I spoke with him yesterday, and he felt very sad that that happened, but in the end, he thought it was pretty joyful because Rita made it that way. And then my last remark is I was with Rita around 3:15 on Thursday, and Mary Kay and Marion had been there, and they said they sang Sancte Joseph to Rita, and they tried to do the Gloria Patri, but didn't quite get it finished and would I finish it. So when they left, I was allowed to go back in the room. So I finished the Gloria Patri, and then I sang the Lord's Prayer. And then just out of the blue, I sang When Irish Eyes Were Smiling. And I don't know, that was just a really peaceful song. I left then, and about 10 minutes before, Father Croak called me and said, Sister Rita had passed. And my first thought was, Rita always spoke about crossing the bridge. But for some reason in my head, I thought she zoomed across that bridge like a tornado and went right into heaven. I don't think she wasted any time.
Yes, yes.
So those are just my latest remarks. Thank you, Rita.
And thank you, Eleanor, for all of us.
You're welcome.
Sister Marion Nestle.
Unmute myself, okay?
You're unmuted. Yep.
Well, I came home and put on green. I thought, you know, I'm not a bit Irish, but I had to do that for Rita. I would have to say, when I was development director, sometimes Sister resented when I would go into their territory, you know, because these are our donors. Rita was never that way. She was open. She would introduce me to people. We had more events at St. Francis. She was truly a community woman. She loved Denver. She loved everything about Denver, but she shared the gifts, the talents, the treasure of the people of Denver with all of us. And I'd have to say she was very unique in that because I didn't receive that same openness at some of the other places where I would visit. Plus, I loved going there because we always had a good time. So Rita, in the name of the development, all the efforts you helped us do to make our community who it is today and to share the good news with all of God's creation, thank you.
Thank you, Marianne.
Okay, anyone else? Making sure. Oh, Sister Laura Gruber. You want to unmute yourself, Laura?
I'm muted now.
Oh,
Here it is. Okay.
there you go.
Here I am. I just think as a member of the reception of 1965, I'd like to say something. I know other people were closer to Rita than I was, but she was always in my prayers. And I just always remember us getting together at assemblies and having lunch together as a reception. And I tell you, we were the loudest table there. We just laughed and had the best time. She could remember lots of stories from Carondelet that I forgot about, you know, and she would bring them up, and it would just lead to more and more joy. And that's what I remember about Rita, the joy.
Yes. Yes.
And I know she's making people even happier than, I guess you have fullness of joy in heaven, but I know she's right there with them. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Next, we have Mary Kay Cottonsteady.
I think I'm on now.
Yes, you are.
I didn't meet Rita till I came home from Peru in 2000, but I've been in her book club and I just love her. And I think the veil is so thin. We're always going to be together. I just can talk to her all the time. And to me, her journey the last 2 years has been amazing. She would tell us in book club once, I'm a number 7 on the Enneagram. I don't like suffering. But I have never seen anybody that has gone through what she has gone through and has always been upbeat and wonderful and joyful. After she started on hospice, she would say each Saturday, I just feel great. I don't know when I'm supposed to start feeling bad. And I've asked the doctor and he said, maybe a month, 2 months, maybe next year. She got to next year. She got to her birthday. When she moved from St. Francis over to Heather Gardens, they were on the 4th floor and they had a balcony. And I remember her saying after they just moved in and she was out on the balcony, she discovered the sky and she just could not get over how blue the sky was. I took my little dog out for a short walk this morning and the sky has never been so blue. Rita is with us and thank you.
Yes. And thank you, Mary Kay.
James Carroll.
Hi, I'm Jim Carroll. My mom, Rita Carroll, was a cousin of Rita's. And through the years, I've always been very fortunate to spend time with her. I went to a couple Notre Dame games with her and Father David and Father Leo. And my fiance's daughter lives out in Denver. So I was very fortunate every time I was out there, we would go to lunch or we were out there in September and we got to visit her. We didn't go to lunch, but we got to visit her distantly in the reception area of the apartment building. And it was so nice to see her and spend time with her. And just, she had a very distinctive laugh. She was just a joy to be with. And it's it's inspiration to me as a lay person to see someone, her, and I still remember Barry too, just totally accepting of the end of life and of living a good life and accepting and looking forward to what comes next. So love you, Rita, and read, as I should say. And that's all. Thank you. Thanks to everybody. Thank you, Eleanor.
Yes. Thank you.
Linda Straub.
As what Laura was sharing, when I entered the community and met Rita for the first time, I said, oh, good, there's going to be some fun. And there's going to be, and almost from day one, it's true that, and I mean, we did get in trouble from time to time for talking too much or being too, whatever, out there. But most of the time, Rita always brought fun with her. And I just wanted to share one little story, how she also was good at helping others and getting folks to help others. So one little story is I moved to Kansas City into a convent that had been lived in by some young I guess you'd say volunteers, and they had painted the walls and the woodwork black. And this house was in need of a lot of repairs and work. And we were closing our convent and moving into this house. The convent, I think, was Assumption. Anyway, somehow or another, Rita found out about the dilemma we were in because school was starting up in like a day or two, and we were in this kind of state of trying to get this house in order. And she volunteered her brother Barry. And she called me and said, call Barry. He's with this bunch of seminarians and they can help you. And so I did. And Barry was very gracious. And that's how I always connect Rita, as if she couldn't be there, she connected you to somebody who could be there. And also for her fun. Thank you, Rita.
And thank you, Linda, for that sharing.
We have Janet.
Yeah, thank you. Rita was the eldest in our reception, and now that honor falls to me. But one of the stories that Rita told that I remember is Laura was saying, you know, when we'd get together for assembly and at lunch, was when she was first coming to Carondelet with her parents. And they probably were driving down Broadway, and her mother looked up and saw this big gray building, because at that time Carondelet, you remember, was painted gray. And her mother said, you know, I didn't think they allowed prisons to be inside, you know, within the city limits. And Rita said, well, Mother, that's where I'm going. And, but it was anything but a prison with Rita there, because as people have shared, she brought so much life and fun and just such a good heart, you know, to all of us, that it made those days of you know, our initial formation and novitiate, just really lots of fun. And we were also, there were 5 of us that, because we had some college before we entered, that year was, even as postulants, we were allowed to go to Fonpan twice a week for classes on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons. And of course, you know, we knew all about, by that time, knew about silence and meals and that kind of thing. But since we were going to Fonpan, you know, we would miss our recreation after lunch. So of course we talked during our lunch. We had it in what's now the Cahokia room. And we said, well, it's better to anticipate than postpone. That's what they always said. So we just had a good time. And anyway, it was just a real joy to be with her.
Yes, it was. Yes, Janet, thank you.
Sister Barbara Vogt. If you want to unmute yourself.
I did. I only know Rita when she came from Denver when I was at the academy, and she was always brought joy with her. And we always had a good time with her. And if she needed anything, she was happy to have anybody help her. And I picked something for her one time, and she just never forgot that. So I'll always remember her as a very happy, grateful person. And I say, pray for all of us.
Yes.
Thank you, Rita.
Yes. Thank you, Barbara.
Sister Kathleen Crowley, were you wanting to share a memory?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I think the story that I have of Rita is, you know, she's got Denver all over her, but she's also a girl of Chicago.
Yes.
And one time a whole bunch of us went to Ted Drew's, and we piled in this car, and then we got out of the car and we're having ice cream and sitting around as you do at Ted Drew's. And I don't know what got into me, but I decided to tell a story that I had always heard of Chicago. And that was that Mayor Daley got raised by our sisters at St. Joseph Home of the Friendless. And he always let the Sisters of St. Joseph ride buses free because of that. And I look over and there is Rita Rita Moriarty looking at me like, what are you talking about? And she goes, Mayor Daley had a mother. Mayor Daley had a father. Why are you? And I went, oh my God, is that not true? And she said, no, he went to St. Viator's. So forever and an age, whenever I would see Rita Moriarty, we'd always have a laugh about good old Mayor Daley getting raised by the sisters. So I think of her in heaven and being able to say to Mayor Daley, listen, I kept up your character all the time. Never did I let them say something. So there we are. So thank you, Rita. Just many, many laughs. Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Catherine.
Okay. Oh, Sister Joan.
Thank you. I have many memories of Rita and stories, of course, but I think in the conversations that I had with her toward the end, we would talk about different things. And one thing I said to her, I said, Rita, you have shown me how to live. And because the way you all said, the joy in that, you have shown me how to live and you have modeled to me how to die. And she says, Joan, that's exactly what I told my father. So I knew Dan, but I was glad that Rita copied her dad about how he lived and how he died. The other thing is when we talked about death, she said, well, Joan, I'll just be joining the majority. And I had never heard that expression before because that's about it too. And then when I asked her, well, Rita, are you afraid of dying? She said, Joan, it's just the next chapter. And I thought, what a good way to look at what happens to us the next chapter in our lives. Thank you.
Thank you. Looking for hands, or if you want to type your name in the chat box. I think we've got time for another memory. Catherine, if you want to unmute yourself.
I was in that group in Rita's class, and one of my most favorite memories starting the classroom was Rita. We all loved music, and she loved to sing. And it seems like I have songs for each one of those in my class that they loved to sing. And her favorite song was Somebody to Watch Over Me. And I can hear her singing it now. She was just a wonderful, giving, and joyous person. Thank you, Rita.
And thank you, Catherine.
Okay. We'll continue on with the service.
Sandra will return and we will sing the Celtic song of farewell. Oops, excuse me. That's not quite yet. Today, we remember the sisters that have died this year. Sister Frances Dillman, Sister Jean Marie Abbott, Sister Joan Casey, and Associate Dorothy Malva. And today we add to the communion of saints, Sister Rita Moriarty. And now we'll return, and Sandra will return and we'll sing with her the Celtic Song of Farewell. The words have been adapted by Sean Madigan, a sister of St. Joseph.
Now may the angels walk with you to paradise, and may the martyrs join you on the way, and may the saints you've known through life while here on earth you enjoy, for you are home to stay. And may the Lord, who loved you from your first cry, now open wide his arms in love to say, well done, my friend, enjoy new life forever. We're glad you're home and now you're here to stay. As we take leave, we thank God for your life with us. In faith and hope, we journey on our way. Now with the saints, in light and love, you'll be our guide until we share with you eternal day. Then may the Lord, who loved us from our first cry, meet us with you, and may we hear him say, come join us, friend, we've waited for your presence. At last you're home to laugh, to love, to stay.
Rita wanted me to tell you, and I'm quoting Rita here. Each of you has given me encouragement, hope, and strength. Thank you. And I thank you for joining us.